before we get any further, today's video contains spoilers for episode 9 of The Bad Batch Season 3. If you haven't had the chance to watch it yet, we highly recommend heading on over to Disney Plus and doing so before starting the video. But if you're all caught up or just don't care, let's dive right in.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Welcome back to another excellent Bad Batch episode. This week confirmed our obvious guesses thus far that the Empire is searching for clone targets that match or exceed the original DNA donor's midichlorian count. We do have to admit, it's not 100% clear if Omega really isn't Force sensitive and only matched Jango Fett's M count, or if she's more Force sensitive than he was and Ventress lied, which is another frustrating delay in finding out why Omega is special and why she's a girl, and no one seems to care. But of course, the highlight of today's episode is seeing Ventress again, at least for some people, because others aren't happy to see her at all. In this week's video, we'll be talking about her journey, her motivations, and why she shouldn't be in this series at all. Of course, we all remember Asajj Ventress from Star Wars The Clone Wars, where she was one of the main antagonists for several seasons. Ventress was born a Night Sister of Dathomir, but like many other Force-sensitive children, she was taken as a baby and raised by a Jedi Knight named Kynarek on the planet Ratatak. Together, they tried to bring peace to the war-torn planet, but her master's death was enough to tip the young Jedi aspirant into the dark side. Fueled by her rage and pain, Ventress unleashed herself upon the planet, overthrowing warlord after warlord and ruling over the world. However, she was eventually captured and forced into gladiatorial combat. That's where Count Dooku found her, and after liberating her, he took her on as his hidden apprentice and assassin. That was her place during the Clone Wars, fighting in the name of her new master for the Confederacy of Independent Systems. However, Darth Sidious, Dooku's own master, grew suspicious of Dooku and ordered him to dispose of his apprentice. To prove his loyalty to Sidious, Dooku betrayed Ventress on the battlefield, leaving her for dead. However, Ventress survived and made her way to her homeworld. Alongside her sisters, she attempted to take revenge on Dooku, but their plans were thwarted by Savage Opress, the Dathomiri Zabrak that replaced her. After failing to kill Dooku, Ventress tried to make her own way in the galaxy by turning to bounty hunting. During this time, she met many Jedi and other former enemies, some of whom she teamed up with. She encountered the unorthodox Jedi Master Quinlan Vos, who was masquerading as a bounty hunter, and the two fell in love. Together, they plotted to take down Dooku, which was Vos's mission at the time. However, their attempt failed, leading to Master Vos being captured. She did eventually team up with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker to rescue him, but months of torture had corrupted him, leading to his fall to the dark side. Despite having fallen to the dark side, Vos refused to believe he had done so, and the Jedi Council seems to have agreed. They sent him on yet another mission to kill Count Dooku and end the war, and once again, Ventress followed him. However, their mission went sideways when Vos gave in to the darkness fully, hell-bent on killing Dooku and his mysterious master. Ventress had to help both Vos and Dooku escape from the Jedi, but in doing so, she confronted the darkness within her and kept it at bay. For the first time in a long time, Ventress reached for the light side, allowing it to guide her. When Dooku turned on them and attempted to kill Vos with Force lightning, she intercepted the attack, taking it head-on. She saved Quinlan's life by sacrificing her own, and this sacrifice was what pushed Vos to renounce the dark side and surrender to his Jedi pursuers. For her sacrifice, Ventress was laid to rest in the waters of her village on Dathomir, honored by the Jedi Order. So how in the hell is she in this week's episode? Longtime fans of this channel will know that if there's one thing we dislike about canon and some of Filoni's recent works, it's his tendency of retconning other creators' stories that had been considered and accepted as canon until he came along. For example, his canon series Tales of the Jedi overrides the popular novel Ahsoka that had been accepted as canon until that point. Ventress's story is just another example of this. But we're going to need a small history lesson, because Ventress's situation is a little different from Ahsoka's. Originally in Legends, Ventress's death was depicted in the Star Wars Republic comic series and the Star Wars Obsession micro-series. Originally, she had been seriously wounded by Anakin in a battle on Coruscant and was presumed dead. Obsession follows Obi-Wan's journey in hunting her down, since he wasn't convinced she was truly dead. The micro series shows her fighting for Dooku before he has her shot, while he and General Grievous are evacuating Boz Pity. In the micro series, she redeems herself by warning Obi-Wan to protect Coruscant before dying. However, her death was only a Sith meditation trance. As she was being transported to Coruscant, she commandeered the shuttle and left the war behind her. This was Ventress's official ending until the Clone Wars overrode it by changing much of her story, such as by having her desert the CIS. The series was supposed to depict Ventress dying for the CIS in her final battle. However, that ending never aired as the Clone Wars was cancelled. After the show was concluded, the canon ending for Ventress came from the novel Dark Disciple, whose story we outlined above. At least, it was supposed to. For some reason, Filoni has decided to override the Dark Disciple novel entirely. Somehow, Ventress survived and is now in the Bad Batch. As cool as it is to see her on screen again, it's somewhat hard to justify her existence when she had a perfectly good ending that had been accepted as canon for years. There was no good reason to have Ventress in the show, and coming back to retcon other people's work rubs us the wrong way, if we're being honest. But whether we like it or not, she's here, she's weird, and it's up to us to figure out what she wants. Anyone who's seen the Clone Wars knows Ventress wasn't always the most pleasant person, but she wasn't downright evil. From her appearance and behavior this episode, we can only conclude that, somewhere between her last Clone Wars appearance and this episode, she found her way back to the light, or at least fully renounced the dark side. Still following some canon lore, she seems to still be working as a bounty hunter, but from her behavior, that isn't all she's been doing. Her words to Hunter reveal she knows far more about the true nature of the Empire than most other characters at this point. She knows the Empire is puppeted by the Sith, and clearly she despises them, which is understandable given how many times they betrayed her. So what does she want to do about it? To use a Dungeons & Dragons term, Ventress is what we'd describe as a chaotic neutral alignment. Chaotic neutral is a term used to describe a character whose main quest is absolute freedom and individuality. As Ventress put it, she isn't on anybody's side but her own. The reason she wants to hurt the Empire isn't because she thinks they're evil or because she wants to help the people of the galaxy. She wants to hurt them because, like Maul, she knows she can never truly be free with the Sith in power, especially not the Sith who specifically want her dead. This is also why, again like Maul, we don't believe she's actively fighting the Empire like a rebel would. Pitting herself against Sidious would be extremely dangerous, and she knows she's not strong enough to actually do meaningful damage. Staying away is the safest option. So why help Omega? Honestly, we can only guess. Perhaps Omega reminds her of herself when she was a young Jedi in training with her master. Perhaps she appreciates the clones' efforts at sticking it to the Empire. Perhaps her belief in individuality and freedom make her feel obligated to give Omega the tools to subvert the Empire's plans, much like Ventress has done herself. But whichever or however many of those reasons are true, it points to a woman with more kindness than you would have ever expected to see from past shows. And as frustrating as it is to see her alive, we would be lying if we said we didn't love her in this episode. But what do you think? Are you also frustrated at Filoni for retconning other people's work, or were you just too happy to see Ventress back? Do you hope to see her in more episodes? Let us know your thoughts about this episode and everything else in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.